Welcome to Skip the Queue, a podcast for people working in or working with visitor attractions. I'm your host, Oz Austwick. In this episode, Sinead and I are going to talk a lot about the third annual Rubber Cheese website visitor attraction survey. So firstly, I just want to say hi, Sinead. How you doing?
Hello. I am doing pretty good.
Yeah, good.
I'm going to say.
Sinead's been struggling a bit with a cold, and I dragged her onto the podcast anyway. So I should apologise to her, but she'll be great. She always is.
Always fun to join.
I'm gonna start by asking you a couple of questions. We're not going to do the icebreaker thing that we do with guests, but when Paul and I host an episode, we like to talk a little bit about where we've been, what attractions we've been to. So how about you? Where have you been recently?
I've been to Stockholm in Sweden, actually. That is not an attraction in itself, although it's beautiful there. But we did try to go to a few attractions. So we tried to go to Paradox Illusion Museum. We very excitedly got to the front, asked for 2 tickets, and they said they're completely fully booked for the entire day. And we couldn't get in, which was surprising. I kind of didn't really factor in that it would be a numbered visit thing. I thought just, it's open, come and have a wander. But I guess the structure of it is you have to have so many people in a room to be able to enjoy the paradox of it. So I think it made sense in the end.
Yeah, I guess it's interesting, isn't it, that wasn't clear, that you could...
Our research was essentially looking, we knew we wanted to go there.
Yeah.
What's the address and can Google get me there? That was my research.
Right. Okay.
So really,
Can't really blame them
I should have
for
looked
that,
into. No, we cannot blame them. But we had a similar thing as well, where we were also trying to go to an escape room because we were there to visit friends. So we didn't want to go to all the museums we've kind of already seen, although they have some incredible ones there. The Vasa being one of them. Very similar, I think, to Mary Rose Trust. They've got a massive ship that sunk pretty soon after coming out of the bay, and the king wasn't very happy about it. But we thought we'll go and just try an escape room just to kill a couple of hours. And I looked for every escape room I could find in Stockholm that we could physically get to. And then once you go into one of those sites, you then pick the day, or you pick the room, then the day, then the time. And you have to go room to room in each of these websites to see if they've got any availability on the day you want and the time you want. And I really wished, and maybe this is a thing that exists that I just don't know about, but I wish there was one place I could go and just say, I want to go to an escape room in Stockholm on this day, at roughly this time. What is available? Because I gave up after about half an hour of searching through every single one. Different rooms, different places. It was impossible. So we didn't go in the end.
That's quite interesting, because I suspect that trying to book for half an hour is probably quite a lot. I guess most people probably wouldn't last that long, but not being able to search for something by availability seems a bit odd, that you have to say, I want this specific room, and then you have to go into it and say, oh no, that's not available. And then you have to go and find another one and go into, it would be really nice to be able to look at something like that and just say, what's actually available?
And I feel like I'm not that big on I don't have that many brainwaves, so I imagine someone's already done this. If anyone knows and can point me to it.
But it's certainly interesting, and maybe there's a lesson there for people who are listening that are working in attractions that can, if somebody wants to come, can they search by when it's available? Or do you have to pick a day and look to see if there are any times free? Maybe that's something we'll talk about, because we're going to talk about our report. And I think maybe that booking process is something that might crop up again. So did you actually make it anywhere at all, or did you just give up and not visit anywhere?
We went to a chess bar in the end. So They had a very swanky, very kind of trendy feeling chess bar. And apparently some very famous chess player was going to go there and have a tournament against somebody from YouTube. I'm not in with all the YouTube stuff, so I don't know who it was. But my husband and friend played chess for about 3 hours, and me and another friend drank wine instead of any visitor attraction.
Sounds like a pretty ideal attraction to me. It's interesting, isn't it? Because there are definitely quite a lot of Scandinavian, maybe Swedish chess players. And where's Magnus Carlsen from? Is he Swedish? I know he's Scandinavian, but I mean, he's the best. He's the best player out there at the moment. But I know there are a number of quite famous YouTubers. Anna Kramling is
yes, that was the one.
Was it? Okay. Oh, she's brilliant.
I think she was meant to be there.
She's got an amazing YouTube channel where she just travels around and plays people at chess. She goes to America and plays chess hustlers in the park, and she's an international master, I think. But her parents are both grandmasters at chess, and every now and again her mum just comes along, and she's this lovely, softly spoken lady who just sits down and utterly destroys people at chess. Brilliant watching. So yeah, I very much doubt Anna Cramling is watching this or listening to this podcast, but if she is, good for you, Anna. Hello. Keep it up. Yeah. So where have I been? It's a bit of a cop out because this is something we do quite often, but we live a few minutes drive from Petworth, so we quite often go and park up and go for a walk around the park. And we say park, it's thousands and thousands of acres, and it's absolutely lovely. It's a bit like stepping into Pride and Prejudice and going for a walk around and seeing the herds of deer just grazing in the landscape. And it's a Capability Brown thing, and you see the house on the hill overlooking. It's absolutely beautiful. We go there a lot. The kids love running around. And my teenage daughter, it's a bit special to her because she's got a very serious boyfriend at the moment. They've been together for almost a year, and that was where they went for their first date. They went for a walk around the grounds at Petworth, and it was absolutely delightful. All very Jane Austen.
That's a lovely first date.
Well, this isn't it. You know, I mean, at that point, I'm going, well, yeah, he's okay. He can stay. Yeah, we like him. And he came up and introduced himself and shook my hand, and I was like, wow, okay, is this what dating's like now? Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't like that back in my day. But yeah, it's a lovely place. Can't recommend it enough. You need to either be a member of the National Trust or pay for your parking, but there's usually a coffee van in the car park, so you can have a nice coffee and walk around a lovely estate. So it's pretty much perfect for me. We should probably talk about the elephant in the room, or rather the elephant that isn't in the room. And I'm sure I'll get in trouble for calling Paul an elephant. But he's not here today. He's off at the Historic Building Parks and Gardens event, which is an absolutely new one for me. I've not even heard of it before. So we hope you're having a lovely time, Paul, and thanks for letting us loose with the podcast. So what else is going on in the world of visitor attractions at the moment?
ASDC, is it coming up?
ASDC, yes. Yes, the Association of Science and Discovery Centres have their big annual event soon, and there's something really special happening at it this year, which is we're going to record an episode of Skip the Queue live on stage. We're not going to broadcast it live, because there's a distinct possibility we'll mess it up and we'll have to do bits again. But we are going to record it, and it's going to be really interesting. And that one's going to be hosted by Paul, which is probably why he's letting us loose without him. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be quite interesting to get out and about, because I've been out to record on site, and nobody else has managed it yet. So this will be Paul's first on-site recording.
That'd be very cool. And hopefully I'll be able to join you for the event at least.
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
Audience.
Yes. Yeah, that would be great. So if you're listening to this and you've got a venue and you'd like us to be there, please do let us know. We'd love to come and see you. I had an amazing time recording at Trentham Monkey Forest. So if you've got monkeys, then let me know. I'd love to come and meet your monkeys too. But it's probably fair to say that the annual survey and the report has taken up a lot of our time recently, and we're actually able to talk about it now because it's been released. We know that some of you came along to our launch webinar, but a lot of you didn't. So we'd like to talk about some of the really interesting things that are in the survey. I guess it's probably reasonable to start off by talking a little bit about how it's different this year compared with previous years. And there are a few things we've done differently. There are a few subjects that we've brought into the survey to ask people about that weren't in there before. So the use of AI and sustainability. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about sustainability later. That's something that Sinead's quite focused on. But one of the major things is that we've introduced some multi-site operators into the database of attractions that we use to produce the report. And I think that that's probably changed the way the report looks a little bit. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely. I think it's, compared to the reports before, there are sections of it that maybe look a bit more complex because you've got different tabs you can move between, and you can see the data both with all of the data we have, so with the multi-sites and without. So if you are maybe a smaller attraction, the without might be more interesting for you to have a look at and benchmark yourself against. But I think it's really interesting to see how very different the results are. If you look at our normal kind of attractions that we get survey results from compared to when you look at the multi-sites. In nearly every single one, the biggest tech within whichever category is usually completely different between the two different kind of data sets, which I thought was really interesting. There's very little crossover, really.
It really is, isn't it? And the question you need to start thinking about at that point is the tech different because multi-sites need different tech? Or is it different because multi-sites actually have the financial ability to be able to say, this is the absolute best, so that's the one we're going to use? And I don't think we can say for sure one way or another at that point. We can say that the biggest, most successful venues tend to use these things, but we're not really in a position where we're able to say, and this is why. So I think that's quite interesting. I think there were a lot of discussions when we were trying to produce the report about how we use this data, because there are definitely different types of multi-sites out there. There are those relatively small local groups where you get maybe 2 or 3 local museums that all used to be run by the same council and now are run by a charity. But then you've got some of the multi-sites that have some of the biggest and most famous venues in the country that all have their own websites, but the decisions are clearly made at a group level. And then you've got like the massive multi-site operators with hundreds and hundreds of venues where they're all done through the same site, the same website. And the question is then, is that say 600 venues, or is that one website? And that makes it a really difficult thing, because if we look at it and say it's 600 or so venues, then that's 600 venues all using the same technology. But if it's one website, that's only one website using that technology, and that hugely changes the way that it's reported. So I think you're absolutely right to look at both and see how it applies to you as an attraction. And if you're unsure, drop us a line. Talk to Sinead, talk to me, talk to Paul. We've got a huge amount of information, and we've put what we think is the most important things out there in the report. But there's a lot more we can talk to you about, and we'd love to, because we're kind of sick of talking to each other about it, wouldn't you say?
Not just yet. Not sick of you just yet. But I would say, when it comes to as well coming to talk to us, I think one of the areas that I can be useful in, and that I'd love to have conversations with my clients in, the ones I'm not already talking to about it, is sustainability. And this is one where Oz is probably sick of hearing me talk about constantly. But I think the thing that I found most interesting, if you look at sustainability on its own, you can maybe see it as something we should be doing, but it is very hard, and like, how do you do it well? But the report looks into how it links really well with performance as well. A lot of what makes something sustainable also makes it highly performing, load faster, and that ultimately gives you a better user experience on the website. So for those who are maybe kind of grappling with how do we make something sustainable in an industry that can find this very difficult because of the nature of what you're doing, looking at it more from that performance perspective, I think helps maybe give it a little bit of momentum, a bit more enthusiasm towards doing something that will have material benefits for you later on, as well as making you a bit more kind of conscious and environmental in the website. So I thought putting those two things together was really, really interesting in the report.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really interesting point, isn't it? That it's not just about ticking a box for sustainability. Oh, look at us! Isn't our website brilliant? And it feels a bit like just patting yourself on the back for the sake of it. Almost everything you do to make your website more sustainable is making you more successful and your site more efficient, and hopefully making you more money as well. So I think that's definitely something to bear in mind.
And I think,
sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think the activities that you can do to make it more sustainable and therefore more highly performing and a better user experience, they're reasonably simple. So we have a lot of our customers at the moment are going through that process with us, of our team reviewing the site, checking, where can we make those quick wins to boost you up the kind of score. And so in the report, we talk about the average attraction being an F, which is the worst score along the whole score grade that kind of data shows us. And it doesn't take a whole heap of stuff to get you even just above that average line, but mostly kind of C, B, A. They are all achievable to get to those kind of grades with things that you would, if you went to look at your site after we had made changes to make it more sustainable, you'll notice it loads a little quicker, hopefully, but you won't really notice anything else that's changed. So a lot of it is the smart little tech things you can do in the background that, we didn't know were possible maybe when the sites were built originally, or, we've just not heard about. We're focusing on something else, perhaps. So I think that was, I hope people can see how easy it can be to just get both of those quick wins, the sustainability and the performance, without changing too much. The design team are not going to be unhappy after we've kind of had a go with that. So
I think it's probably worth saying that one of the reasons that I think sustainability's been a conversation that people have backed away from having is that it feels like it's going to be really complicated. And the reason it feels like it's really complicated is because it's quite technical. But if you're talking to someone like you and the team of developers that you work with, then this is really simple stuff for them. And being able to look at a list of things that are causing your site to not rank very well sustainability-wise, they can say, oh, well, we can do those 3 really quickly. That's only half a day's work to get that fixed. And that can have a huge tangible difference to the site.
Definitely.
Okay, so, moving on from sustainability to kind of, very much a related subject is the booking process. We've talked a bit about trying to make the site more efficient and make it load faster and therefore make it more sustainable. That does feel very much like it's connected to the booking process, because one of the things that seems fairly clear looking at the report is that people are still expecting their visitors to go through a lot of steps, and that hasn't really changed year on year. We've said before that if you reduce the steps in your booking process, it will make you more money. And we can see that really, really clearly from the reports we've done in the past. And yet the average is still really high. It's 7 steps to be able to book a ticket. And that feels like we're making people do a lot.
Definitely. I think if you look at other industries as well, they have really run down that avenue of reducing the steps. If you look at Amazon, it's scarily easy to go just buy now. Admittedly, they've taken details earlier on in the process, so they're slightly different. But if I look at any new site that I go onto where I'm trying to buy something, or I'm trying to kind of plan something even, if I can do everything on my phone, and even when it comes to, say, Apple Pay, if I can just do 2 clicks and my payment's done, I don't need to put in, manually enter my details and things like that. I feel more happy after that experience. I don't feel like, I've had to go and find my purse and get my card. I haven't had to go and remember whatever detail it is, or checked, my husband's details if he's coming along with me or anything.
Yeah.
And the easier you can make it, I think the better. I know we've got a few colleagues who have children, and Steve in particular will tell me how on a Thursday evening he sat on the sofa, maybe after putting the kids to bed after dinner. You're a bit tired, you've had a full day of work, you want to just go, I need to do something at the weekend. You pick up your phone and find where you want to go, quickly book it, get back to the TV or whatever other relaxing activity you were doing. And the quicker you can do that, the more it takes stress out of what is potentially a stressful thing as well. Not even thinking about when it comes to obviously the more sales that you get, because you're then somewhere they think of as easy to go to, easy to book.
Yeah.
So I think the survey highlighted that really, really, really well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I love this idea of Apple Pay or Google Pay being more used, because that allows you as an attraction to get that data without having to specifically ask for it. But also as a visitor, the amount of times I've got my phone out and I've been out and about, I've been doing something, maybe I've taken one of the kids to a swimming lesson, or, I'm sitting at the back of a concert waiting for my daughter to come on and do her bit. And I think, I'll just book that thing. And it says, you've got to put your card details in. And I've lost count of the amount of times I've been stood in a car park with my phone balanced on the back of the car, trying to find a credit card so I can. I don't want to do that. And
how many times have you put the phone down? Well, you've not even carried on that booking because I'll do it
absolutely.
later.
Yeah, I mean,
if later comes.
Definitely sometimes, without a doubt. I would much rather be able to just say Google Pay and give it my fingerprint and let it do it for me.
Yeah.
And I think the question we need to be asking ourselves as an industry as a whole is, why are we asking for this information? Mm-hmm. And there's a really, really interesting thing in the survey, which I think highlights that we're asking for information from people that we don't need. You and I, we both know this. We talk to people who book things, and it annoys them all the time. And people are asking for information so they can market to us and get us to come back. They can upsell, they can sell more things to us. But we've got some really clear data looking at where traffic to your website comes from. And the absolute lowest source of traffic to a website, to a visitor attraction website, comes from email marketing. So we're literally putting people off buying tickets to a venue to get information from them so that we can market to them and get them to come to the venue again. Yeah. And the numbers just don't hold up.
Don't make sense. No. And you compare, if you remove steps in the process, for the bigger venues at least, hundreds of thousands of pounds, you could get more in revenue if you were to remove some steps. And yet we hold on to those steps for potentially email marketing, which is not where you're getting your hundreds of thousands of pounds back from in the end. It doesn't add up. But I think it maybe goes into what we spoke about a while ago, where you do what you've always done. And you don't think about the why. Why are you asking for the information? Why are we doing this? Why, is email marketing still the big thing that we are trying to do all the time?
Yes. So, yeah, there's a huge amount of perceived wisdom within the industry. And even now, going to events and listening to people talk about how you should market your venue, and it's all really arbitrary. It's like this is clearly what you should do. This is how you should do it. And there's no justification for that. There's no reason behind it. There's no proof that if you do it this way, this is what will happen. And I think that's one of the things that the survey now in year 3 is becoming more and more able to show you, that these things are changing. We've got actual trends, we've got figures, we've got data that is indisputable, and we can see how that data is changing over time. So we can look at the fact that in year 1, when we knew how many people have tested their site for mobile optimization, that doesn't tell us an awful lot. It just tells us that some sites have and some sites haven't. But now we've got 3 years worth of data. We can see that this is still a really important thing, and it's getting more important every year. And so we know for a fact that if you aren't testing your site for mobile usage, then you're probably suffering.
I think it was 80% of sales are through, 80% of visits to the site are on mobile.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you've never tested that.
But it's something ridiculous, like less than 20% of sites have actually bothered to test the mobile version of their site to see if it works the way they think it works. And there's an easy win for you. Get a small group of people together, get it tested, run them through the process, and find out if it's good or not. And look at the steps. And I think it's probably worth mentioning that while we're talking about taking steps out of your booking process, what we're not looking at doing is putting all of those complex decisions into a fewer number of steps. So we don't go from having 7 steps to book a ticket to 3 steps to book a ticket, but those 3 steps are now infinitely more really complex. We're actually saying, look at the questions you're asking and say, do you actually need to ask them?
Yeah.
Like you said, if I want a toaster, I can buy a toaster from Amazon in maybe 2 clicks.
Yeah.
And if I buy it from someone else that accepts Google Pay, maybe it's 3 clicks. But I'd really like to be able to take my kids out for the day without having to go through 7 or 8 different clicks and then fill in different ages for all of the kids and, put in everybody's names. And I'm not interested. I'd much rather just
if they welcome me at the door by saying, hello, Sinead, it's nice to see you. Is this Adam who you mentioned? Carry on. But I don't think that's in many attractions. So.
No, and I would much rather get an email with my tickets in it, with a little link in the email saying, we'd love to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah,
if you fill in this form, we'll give you a free coffee.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, okay. And I've already got my tickets. It's not going to put me off. But I think that does link beautifully into the subject of discounts, because that's something we asked about and we featured in the report. And I think it's quite a surprising result, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
We know for certain that discounts make more sales. Yeah. And I feel like I'm going to start
quite a substantial margin.
Well,
it's kind of double the number of sales if you have discounts versus if you don't.
And I know there are a lot of people out there, people running attractions, people who are involved in the industry, who feel really passionately that you shouldn't offer discounts, that it devalues what you're offering. And yet the numbers don't necessarily agree with that.
No. And I think I can understand having a concern that when we're saying how the data from our survey revealed that, I think it was, maybe, might have to correct me on these later, but I think 2.9 thousand sales via discounts versus 1.2 thousand sales or something. So it's quite a substantial difference if you are offering a discount versus not. And then my worry, if I kind of take myself out of my role, is if the price per ticket is a lot lower, what's my ultimate kind of revenue at the end of that? Have I sacrificed revenue? Am I taking in ultimately less because of the discount? But I don't think anyone is really proposing, 50% discounts on a ticket. So really, from that data, the revenue would be increased by discounting, which feels like opposite things to hold in your brain at the same time. But it is enticing people. I think sales work in every other industry. We know they work. We love sales. You see it, and there is a bit in your brain that just reacts to it. Even if you're not interested, you might notice it more. And so I think to ignore it entirely without checking it or testing just feels like maybe not thoroughly investigating it enough, based on the data we've seen, at least.
Absolutely, and the data is really clear. Just like you said, that the number of sales that are made is just so much higher when you're offering discounts. But what we're not able to show in the survey is what sort of discount people are offering, what level of discount they're offering, and we know really very clearly that every attraction is different, and the way your audience reacts is different, and the way you interact with them is different. So we're not saying go and knock 50% off your ticket. We're saying have a think about discounts and look at what you can offer and test it and see if it works for you, because it's clearly working really, really well for some people, hugely well.
No, definitely. And I think on that kind of knowing your audience and seeing how you think they will actually react to this, I think if I think of any place where I've been and if I felt like I got a good deal, I don't have to think I stole my ticket, but if I feel like I got a good deal and I then also have a lovely experience there, I have a lot more reason to go and try and recommend that to a friend, or go back even again, because I feel like I got treated well, essentially, in a considered way of maybe what I would find beneficial. And if that starts with my interest being piqued by a discount, and then it goes on to me actually now being part of that audience that maybe I wouldn't have been otherwise, that also has a knock-on gain, rather than if I saw a price that I saw no discount to, no benefit to, then I wouldn't maybe go in the door in the first place. So you don't just miss that first discounted sale, you might miss the next full price sale of a ticket maybe. So there's so much to think about depending on the audience that you're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I kind of fall into the group where if I'm going to go somewhere, I'm probably going to go there. Well, if you offer a discount or not, I'm probably still going to go. Getting my family to a venue is quite a big job. Logistically, it's quite tricky. There are a lot of us, and we go out a lot. So going somewhere, we tend to travel a little way to get to somewhere a bit special. And we'll have made the decision before I go to book the tickets. But if I can book the tickets and I say, hey, I've saved 20 quid doing this, then in my head, what I'm actually thinking is, I can spend 20 quid when I get there.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have to buy a picnic from a supermarket on the way and save money that way. Yeah. Maybe we can eat on site.
Yeah.
So I don't know for sure, but I strongly suspect that my overall kind of purchase value is more when somebody offers me a discount up front.
Yeah.
But again,
definitely,
test it. Your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
So I guess, we've talked about this for quite a long time now, and I think that we probably shouldn't go on too much, but to stress, if I can give you anything to take away from this discussion, it's that you really need to get hold of this data and look at it and see how it applies to you, and test it. Look at what people who are making success out of their venue are doing and see if you can do the same thing. But also come and talk to us. We'd love to talk to you about this stuff. There's so much data and there's so many ways you can look at it. And we're really able to break it down really, really in a really granular way to say, oh, this is what animal-based attractions are doing. This is what aquariums or this is what historic homes are doing. This is what theme parks are doing. This is what museums are doing. We can do all of that. And that's not, we can't put all of that data out there because there's just...
No, it would be very, very long.
Yeah, I mean, it would be ridiculous. And I strongly suspect that our designer would leave. When in fairness, I might too, if we had to make a report that was 5 times as long as the one that we've done. But, if you're a client of ours and you want to talk about how you can do better, hit up Sinead, drop her an email. If you're not a client and you want to talk, then talk to Sinead, talk to me, talk to Paul. We'd really love to kind of go through this with you and help you be more successful. That's kind of why we're doing it.
And I think that on the just talking about it as well, if it's one of those things where it feels very, very big and you're thinking, I've got 300 other things I'm meant to be doing, how am I meant to go and look at sustainability and reducing the steps and all of these other things? I think you can almost maybe be led as well by what people are increasingly doing, which is looking at the user experience and getting information from whoever is using your site. Because I was really happy when I saw the increase this year in people who are testing the site. And if you even can't get to that point where you can't, do a big user experience testing thing, go and talk to all of the partners you're working with, because the vast amount of knowledge in the kind of community that's formed around all of these attractions, us included, particularly for our clients, even just asking us, go internally and let me know how people experience booking on the site. Partners, I think, will be happy to help have a look at that, even if it's only a small sample of feedback points that you get that you can maybe incrementally just try and change slowly. But I think opening up that question, however big or small you're able to do it, will mean that by the time we ask you these questions next year, you're that slight step forward from where you want to be, and you don't just look at the report and think, oh, again, I wish we were further up. I wish we could benchmark ourselves closer to the average or the higher end of the results we're getting. So like I said, just come and have a chat about it. We might say it's brilliant, it's perfect, there's nothing you could improve. Or we might say, make the CTA bigger. Small things or big things, just start the conversation about it, I think, and start thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's probably fair to say that as an organisation, we're really trying to put our money where our mouth is when it comes to visitor attractions. So if you follow us, Rubber Cheese, on Instagram, you'll probably have seen that Sinead, that Steve, a project manager, that Paul, we're all going out and visiting attractions and actually trying to experience that booking process as a visitor. And you may well be surprised if you give us a bell or drop an email and say, we'd really like to talk about our website. We can say, great, because when I booked tickets to come and see you, this bit was really difficult. And there's definitely some personal experience in there as well. So, talk to us. And if you want to talk to me, I'll come to you happily, as long as you make me coffee. Is that fair? I'm a sucker for a coffee. So, do we have any calls to action? What do we want people to do, other than talk to us?
Talk to us. We're not needy, honest, but please talk to us.
We are a little bit needy. Oh, I know what it was I wanted to say. Sustainability Action Group.
Yeah.
We're very aware that that sustainability is of growing importance, and yet it's relatively new. And this is something that we're going through ourselves. We're currently reworking our own website, and we're helping a lot of our clients to do those. So what we're trying to do is put together a group of people who are all kind of going through the process together. And this isn't us saying we're the experts at this and we'll help you do it. We've got the technical expertise and we can help with that. But we're all going through the process. So if you want to go through that process and you want to improve the sustainability of your website, then we are putting together a group of people that want to work together and share their wins, share the things that haven't gone as well for them. And hopefully we can all lift each other at the same time. Drop me an email or reach out to us on social media and we'll get you involved if you want to do that. So before we wrap it up for good, I want to ask you the question that we ask everyone that nobody's asked you yet, which is, do you have a book recommendation?
I do. And Not to keep banging on about sustainability, but I will keep banging on about sustainability.
She really will.
Just ahead of Black Friday and all of that madness. I love the visitor attractions versions of Black Friday because you're not selling a thing, you're selling an experience when you have your tickets. That I love. Keep doing that. But I read a book recently by Patrick Grant, who is in the British Sewing Bee, and his book was called Less. And he has made my life very difficult because now I'm not allowed really to buy things because of what I've done to my brain. But essentially, the book looks at how to buy what you need and look after it and not constantly just need more and more. And the way he describes pots and pans and jumpers from his gran and all of these other lovely, homely feeling things really made me think about where you put your money and what you're getting back out of that. And so when it comes to, for example, when we were in Stockholm, we were thinking, what do we want to do? We don't want to go shopping. We do want to go and try and do an escape room. We want to go into the Paradox Museum. We want to go do something, experience something.
Yeah.
I feel like it makes sense to put the money there rather than buying another thing that you don't really need. And so maybe ahead of Black Friday as well, I think I'll try and keep that in my mind when I see all of those Amazon sales with things that I definitely want, but don't necessarily need right now. And try and look instead at experiences you can get from it. So yeah, I think read that book or listen to it on BookBeat or any of the others that are available. But yeah, it really opened my eyes a little bit to the free Black Friday things you're seeing around you, I think, as well.
Amazing. I mean, I've not read it, so I will definitely, I'll get a copy and have a read. And if you're listening to this and you want a copy for free, get onto Twitter, X, and be the first person to say, I want a copy of the book Sinead has recommended, and we'll stick one in the post to you. So thanks so much for talking to me, for agreeing to come on when you're not feeling 100%. I really appreciate it. I've had a lovely time chatting. And maybe we should just sack Paul. What do you think?
Yeah, might as well. He's not here to argue, so.
Thanks for listening to Skip the Queue. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. It really helps others find us. And remember to follow us on X for your chance to win the books that have been mentioned. Skip the Queue is brought to you by Rubber Cheese, a digital agency that builds remarkable systems and websites for attractions that helps them increase their visitor numbers. You can find show notes and transcriptions from this episode and more over on our website, skipthequeue.fm.